Hello, I'm Saros, and today's a little bit different. So this is the first part in a 3-part series on how I made a Minecraft pig, and at the time of recording this right now, I only have the pattern done, which is the video you're watching, but I did want to have more of it done so you could see the final result. I'll just link all the videos together once they're posted, but it's going once a month starting here in April. If you're watching this past June, then they're all out and you're good to go. I'm very excited. The pig is fairly easy in shape, but there are a few cutouts, and it's only got one stitch, I believe, throughout all of it. So it is a fairly easy mob to make. I figured this would be a good starting point for anyone to go off of. I just wanted to go a bit more in depth in everything, so that way in future videos I can just easily be like, this is how you pattern it, and direct you to somewhere else, so just in case you don't want to watch me pattern everything every single time. But this goes a bit more in depth into my thought process and all of the patterning that goes into that. When I did record it, I did all of the patterning and like the color sheet for the painting, and then I went and changed it later, so you'll see that at the end. But I hope you enjoy! So when I make patterns for the Minecraft mobs, I always want to do it on something with a grid because Minecraft characters are all cubes and squares on a grid, so it's easier that way. I started off with graph paper, but I also use this program GIMP as it has a grid built in if you just draw it pixel by pixel. And then for the model I'm using, it's just off Sketchfab. I just googled Minecraft pig 3D model. Generally they have pretty accurate models. The pig isn't too complicated, so I'm not super concerned. I will go and check afterwards to make sure the model I have is correct to in-game versions, but it's very helpful because you can spin it around and get all of the angles and look at all of the different colors you need for it. But let's get started. So first, when I make it, I always want to start with the head as they're the simplest shape to follow. They're usually just cubes, easy to follow, easy to do. So I just want to count the pixels across. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 across. We're going to go on our software here. Do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then probably 8 down, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And he's 8 down. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can just fill in this square. And that's the head. Normally on graph paper I'd label these. I'm just going to go off what I see and how I know them, and I'll label them later. But now the thing is with this guy, you always want to check, make sure the length is the same too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So his head is just a cube, but it has these little cut-ins in the side here, which are going to be a little complicated to figure out. So this here is the top and the front of the pig. Because the sides, I'm going to make this cutout rather than putting a cutout in the body, because I feel like it'll be easier to sort of slot the head onto the body rather than the body onto the head, if that makes sense. I can't decide if I want to make this solid underneath or have it hollow connecting the head to the body. I think I'm gonna have the body as a solid cube or rectangle and then the head as a cutout to put on top. But if we look at the side here, it's still the 8 by 8 square, except for on the side here it's cut off a little bit. So what we're gonna do is take this, draw our 8 by 8 cube, and then it's 2 over and 2 down. So we're going to delete this here, and that should be the side of the head. So as you can see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there should be 6 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. So you're going to get 2 of these, and this is either side of the head. So you'll see that when it's put together, it'll have this sort of cutout in the back here, so that way it can slot onto the body. So we're going to do the bottom of the head here is just going to be 8 by 6, because this is 8 and this is 6. That's the bottom of the head, and then the back of the head is just a 2 by 8 strip because it's 2 here, 8 across. And there's the pieces for the head. You're going to need 2 of this piece for the front and the top, 2 of this piece for either side, 1 of this piece for the bottom, and 1 of this piece for the back. And now I'm going to go onto the little snout here, so just go down a little bit, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1, 2, 3. And then it's just 1 along the edge there. There's that and that. So then you're going to cut 1 of this piece and then 2 of either of these pieces. As I'm drawing, I'm not worried about the scale yet. I'm just trying to get the proportions correct, and then I'll worry about how big I want him to be. I don't really want him as big as I made via Allay or Gast, so I'm thinking it might be a 1/2 inch scale, but we'll decide that later. Next, I'm going to move on to the body. Now this pig body looks like it's got half squares on the top and the bottom. I'm just going to, yeah, because then the back, the front, goodness, why does it have to be complicated? Okay, so we're gonna look at the butt here to see how tall it needs to be. Put down a little bit. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tall. Let's sort of double check with the side here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's 2 halves, so it's 8 tall. I'm going to take some creative liberty when painting this to not do those half squares, because that's going to get complicated. So we're just going to do 8, and then we're going to do the side here. This looks like it's all solid squares, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 16 across. And so this will be either side. Let's check the top, see how wide. I think it's wider than 8. Look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're gonna call it 10. It's about 10. It's like 9.5. We're gonna call it 10 because that's gonna be easier to work with. So if this is the sides, we're gonna do the top and bottom are the same. So it's gonna be the same 16 long, but it's just going to be 10 wide instead. And then the butt and the front chest are going to be the same, so then that's just going to be the 8 by 10 here. So then for the body, we'd cut 2 of each of these pieces. These are both sides, top and bottom, and front and back. And it looks like all of the legs are the same, so we're just going to draw 1 of these, just put it in here. And it is 4 wide, so it is a square. Do 4 wide. And how many tall? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's 5.5. We're gonna say it's 6 because again, they did half squares and that's not how they're supposed to work. So we're gonna do 6. And because all of the front and side of the legs are the same, for this, you're going to cut 4 of this 4 by 6 shape per leg, which means you're going to need 4, 8, 10, 12. You're going to need 12 of this shape, and then 4 of these bottom squares, which are just 4 by 4. And these are the pattern pieces for the pig. Not super complicated. You'll get the hang of it the more you do it. Able to figure out how pieces are going to go together, things like that. They can be a little complicated. This pig is pretty simple overall. It doesn't have too many different shaped parts, but what we're going to do, so we're going to do a little bit of coloring for the main parts. We're going to copy the pieces that I drew. We're going to take these pieces that I drew and draw them in a format that'll be easier to see and do a little bit of coloring on top. When I go to paint this, it's not going to have all the different colors, but I'll probably do a sort of toned down version of the different pinks, because I don't want it to be super solid, but I don't want to have to paint each square a different color essentially. And the way I like to format things is, okay, so we're gonna do the top of the head here. So this is the top of the head, and we're gonna do the front of the head, and then either side, and then the bottom. Over to this side, we'll do the back. So if you look at how I've laid it out, it's gonna make a little bit more sense when you put it together, because if this is the front here, and then this is the bottom, so it attaches to this part of the front, and the head, top of the head attaches to this part of the face, and either side, and then this attaches here, and then it just sort of folds together. If you've ever done like paper crafts and things, this will make a lot more sense. But it's pretty, this is how I lay it out because it's pretty intuitive to put it together afterwards and getting it painted and things. But if we want to do a little bit of coloring, if we look at its eyes here, he's got white right there. So that's 4 down on the second row, either side, black there, and he's got brown ears. So we're going to just pick a brownish color. Doesn't have to be super accurate. Then we're going to figure out where this ear goes. So it's about, and how much of it we want to paint. It's about 3. It's a little dark. And if we do this here and then pick a lighter color, paint. Just going off the assumption both sides are the same, I'll check here. Yep. So roughly something like this. Don't like that brown at all. That's a little bit better. The bottom of the head doesn't have a whole lot. Oh, he's got a little white bit there. That's cute. And then the top of the head has a few of these spotty looking stripes that are on the body. What I'm going to do is just pick a pink that is a little bit darker, and I might do it as if it's going to have 2 colors. So then this stripe here, we're just going to color it all in dark and then go in afterwards to change certain aspects lighter. This side's a little different. Generally for Minecraft mobs, if you do just a bit of like random squares here and there of different colors, it'll generally work out. So then we're going to pick one that's a little bit between these two. Sure, let's go with that. Again, there's no right and wrong on where you put these dark spots, just wherever you feel they should go. Generally, things have like a darker and a lighter on around them as if it's fading in or out, but again, up to you. And the pig doesn't have to have stripes that follow around the edges. Some of them have specific stripes in specific areas. This guy doesn't. Now, what we're actually going to do as well is erase the spot where his snout's gonna go, so we don't have to worry about it. So he looks a little creepy now, but that's where his nose is gonna go, so we can just work around it. Because we're gonna put in a few lighter colors as well. Probably just one. Generally don't want to go too much more than like 4 or 5 different like shades of color, because it can get a little complicated. Sometimes you just pick where you want colors to go because you think it'll look nicer there. Use the model as a reference, not as 100% guide for your colors. Generally, I don't like putting too much light under the chins because then it'll light them up too much. Typically they're in shadow anyway, so you want to keep them that way. But I'd say that's probably good enough for the pig. Looks pretty similar. So then we're gonna just put the little snoot in beside it. Same color dark as the ears. And now, I don't know about you, but that looks white to me. So what I'm going to do is, well, you're not going to see it if it's white. Hold on. Let me make it a very light pink. Probably would do this in white, but it looks like a little white dot, like drool or something. So I'm going to go with that and maybe actually put another couple light spots. So there's about 5 different color variations. Mostly on his head because his head looks the shiniest. There, just a little bit more variation. I'd say that's his face done. Pretty cute, I'd say. Pretty good. I'm gonna move on to the legs next. So now what it looks like is that every leg is the exact same, which makes it easier for me, for sure. Moved it over a little bit, didn't want it touching the wall, but we're going to take this brown again and work on the most prominent aspects, which are his little toesies. So they're just like this. Are they on the back as well? They are. Just like that. Yes. So they go all the way across the bottom for his little hoof, and like that. So we're going to, on the front here, again, you always want to just color pick the colors you've already used. When you're painting, it's going to be painting with the same colors you already have. Don't want to add a whole bunch more colors, it'll get complicated, won't look completely finished, you know. These ones here I am working upside down on, so forgive me. So normally I'd draw this similar to this, having the front and sides, but I figured this fit together better. But then drawing it's a little complicated, but I'll make it work. If all of your pieces for the legs look different, so like the front, back, and either side look different, it will be easier to put them together in the end. Just as a little bit of a tip, because then you can easily see where the pieces are supposed to go. Something like that for his legs. I'd say those are pretty good. Now on to probably the most complicated to paint, the body. I believe, oh, their sides are different. Oh, okay. Again, as I was saying, easier when painting, maybe not so much fun when figuring out where to paint. Sometimes when I draw these on paper, I don't use colors like this. I'll use completely random colors or just like scribbles, just so I can figure out exactly what I need. So that's the body here. So we got the top, the back, the front, the sides, and the bottom. What I'm going to do again is just sort of mark off what of this is not going to be used because it's going to be covered. Usually I paint these like a darker solid so I have an outline when I go to draw it. Just gonna do black so it's obvious. Because it's got one square on this side, but like, I guess a total of one, it's 2 halves. They have it like offset. I'm gonna check another picture later, make sure it's correct, but I typically go mostly off of 3D models. Nobody knows their Minecraft mobs well enough to get angry at me for completely messing up. So we're gonna go with the stripes as the obvious first thing to do. For the bottom, I'm also going to mark where the legs go. And now, I see that this guy, his legs extend a little bit back here. I don't know if I really want to do that. So I'm going to see what a Minecraft mob, what a pig looks like. See if their legs have to do that. Because if in the majority of pictures they do, I will do it. But I would rather not, because it will be easier to not. From doing a quick Google image search, it seems that that is a necessary aspect, or at least common, so we're just gonna add a little strip that I apparently need to cut for the leg. Just a little strip. Just 2 of them, just for the back legs here. We're gonna... And then realize that because I was going to mark off where they go. I'm just sort of using creative liberty because I think the sides are like darker than the general pig color, but that's too many colors of paint for me to figure out, so we're winging it. We're only gonna add a few of these super light highlights. And you know what? I think that's good. So we spin him out and look at all of these pieces here. It might change when I paint it. When I go to paint it, if I mess up, I'm just gonna add a different color there. But generally, this will be the layout for painting. So it's already sort of prepped. I will probably go through and make these brighter, but I typically don't want a whole lot of colors. Black and white for the eyes don't really count. There's this one brown. I want this to be a brownish color that surrounds it. So it's 2 colors. There's the main pink, and then there's 2 lighter and 2 darker than the main pink, which seems like a good 5 is a good number to have in a range of values. So typically like 3 to 5, 5 will give it more dynamic possibilities, but looks pretty Minecraft pig to me. And then all that's left to do is cut it out. And that's how I made the pattern for the pig. If you have any questions or anything, let me know. All of the rest of the videos will be linked together once they're posted. Do the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on all my social media. I have a link in all of my bios and in the description below that should link to all of my social media. Follow me on Twitch. I try and stream once a week. Right now it's Sundays. Just doing little crafty things. Are pretty short at the moment because I'm in the middle of finals, but they should be ramping back up for the summer at least. Let me know what else you want to see me make after I'm done this whole Minecraft pig saga. But thank you. Bye. Nothing's done yet. I'm very behind. Please forgive me. I'll do it eventually. I'm in the middle of finals and I have a cosplay convention coming up. Leave me alone. I'm busy.